No Child Left Behind was being debated.
Yes.
And you probably know in the last 5 or 6 years, this issue of teaching Darwinism in the classroom has been under a lot of scrutiny, and there's been there've been court cases, and there've been school board decisions, state school boards debating whether to do this or not, and whether we should teach intelligent design or all the other things. Well, how did that happen? Well, let me tell you the story of how it happened. No Child Left Behind is being debated, and it's about in second or third week in the Senate. And they closed amendments off that day. And I offered an amendment. I just put the title because that's all you had to do in the Senate. You just say, what's the amendment about? I said, well, I'm going to offer an amendment about life. So I put that in. The day before the Senate's going to vote finally on it, finally they said, look, are you going to offer your amendment or not offer your amendment? I said, okay, I'll bring it down. So I brought it down the day before. Now, it's Rick Santorum, Mr. Partial Birth Abortion, Mr. Pro-Life Advocate, has an amendment about life in No Child Left Behind. So I bring the amendment down to the floor, and I hand this 2-sentence amendment to Ted Kennedy. And he grabs the amendment, runs back to the corner with Barbara Boxer, Hillary Clinton, Debbie Stabenow, Maria Cantwell. They're all gathered around, and they're in and out.
All the usual suspects.
All the usual suspects. In and out, just saying, staff people coming. And finally, Kennedy walks over and says, and here's the 2-sentence, and I'm paraphrasing, that we should teach science in the classroom, not religion or anything else, that science and scientific theories should be the basis of all learning. And when it comes to the issue of biological evolution, you should teach the controversy.
Yeah.
That was a 2-sentence amendment.
Yes.
So Kennedy comes up to me and says, all right, I don't see it. I said, what do you mean? He said, where is abortion in this legislation? I said, what are you talking about, Ted? He said, well, you said you have an amendment about life. He said, where is the abortion? Like my staff's been looking at this. You got to tell me. You got to tell me where is it that you teach abortion in this?
That's the elephant in the room always.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I prompted that. I called it a life amendment, and so I said, Ted, this has nothing to do with abortion. Are you sure? I said, Ted, I promise you, this has nothing to do with abortion. So he goes back, Boxer, everybody, they're all gathered around. Ted comes back to me and says, okay. He says, I'll let it. And he says, I'll support your amendment. I said, great. So Barbara Boxer gets up on the floor of the United States Senate and talks about how wonderful this amendment is, how it's for intellectual challenge, diversity, and that she was going to co-sponsor my amendment.
What an idiot.
So we passed the amendment 94-5, and the 5 people that voted against it were conservative Republicans who didn't want us to tell school boards what to do, not knowing what they were doing.
Yes.
It passes. The next day, the Biology Teachers Association figures out what passes, and it hit the fan. Front page in all the papers. Kennedy says, I was duped.
Yes, the last thing we want to have is a debate.
And he pledged to, on his dying breath, I will make sure that does not end up in the final version. Fast forward to the last story. Final version of No Child Left Behind is in conference. They're debating the issues. One issue holds the conference 2 days. The language that I had. Democrats would not back down. It was the final issue. I give credit. I tip my hat to the chairman of the Education Committee in the House at the time, who stood tall, made sure that language was in there, John Boehner. He made sure that language was in there, and as a result, school boards have had to review their curriculum on science, and that's why all these controversies have come up.
Oh, that's wonderful. We
So
really
there you go.
appreciate that.